On the previous episode of the SL500, I worked out where the leak was, and it's in the bulkhead. Rusty hole, and the problem is access. So in this episode, I discover how I'm going to get access. Okay, I've made a decision. I'm going to take these front panels off. I've got to get in there somehow. To get in underneath is almost impossible. You're going to have to get in on the top anyway, so these have got to come out off, unfortunately. The good news is I can see a lot of bolts here, so that's good. I can unbolt most of it, but there's a few rivets as well, and I have a feeling it's probably welded at the front at some point. But anyway, it's a voyage of discovery, so that's next job on the list. I'm going to start on the passenger side, actually. I think I'm going to do the passenger side first, take that front wing off, see what's underneath, and use that as the test side, because there's more space inside the car, so it's a bit less challenging. So maybe I can learn a bit doing that side. So let's go. Things like this annoy me. This is an original connector, this is not. So they're different size nuts. Small details, but really annoying. While I'm getting into this, I think I'll take the tray off that holds the battery, because it's apparently a notorious place for it to rust underneath, which is pretty obvious really. Most of the time on these old cars, under the batteries, they rust. I think this might be a saving grace that it's got a tray, so it might just be a case of repairing the tray. I'll show you. Doesn't look too bad, but I'll take the tray out. Minimum, I'll just refurbish that tray, paint it up. There's one bolt that's not coming out, it's just spinning. So there's spacers, so these bolts here go through a spacer. So it has come out, it's just the spacer was turning with it, just where it'd be probably corroded. But that's pretty good. Okay, having taken the battery out, again I think good news. No corrosion there, just bits of insulation or sound deadening, which is off the top of the bonnet, which is all falling to bits, but that's fine, that's not a big deal, we can sort that. But no rust there, that's great. Right, so I've been trying to work out, there's two bolts on the front and one bolt in the bracket that goes on the chassis, and I think that's the one I need because it feels like there's nuts on the other side. So I'm hoping this one, there's either a welded nut or the chassis is threaded. Yeah, it feels much better. And then I think I'll be able to pull it out. This side's a bit trickier because there's a pipe in the way, so I can't get the spanner in. I can only get my small ratchet, which doesn't give me much leverage, so I'm just having to improvise. Wonderful. There's something very odd under here. Must be an earth. Oh well, must be an earth for the bumper, but yeah, it's very strange, so I've got to take the number plate off now. Very strange. I don't know what that is. Oh, is it a temperature sensor? Temperature sensor. I can't find a connector for the fog lights. So I'm just going to take them off the bunker for now. Oh, not quite. Trying to identify what bit goes where in terms of how this is all together. There's these screws here which I think form part of the wing. I'm hoping, but I'm not totally sure. And you've got definitely a join here between the front sort of valance, I think they call that, and this wing. There's two sort of rivet screws, actually they're screwed in, so I just need to try and start unscrewing and unbolting and see where I get to with it. Okay, it's a bit rusty here, so actually I need to undo that. So when so now I've got to think about trying to mark this some way. So when I put it back together, I can try and get the panel in the right place straight away. So if you have a look there, you've got a large hole, so there's plenty of room for adjustment, but obviously because the panel fitted so well, I don't really want it to be adjusted. So pictures would help, and perhaps if I mark it. Got all the bolts out. There's a couple of rivets up here by the looks of it. And then I think that there's those 3 welds there. But I need to have a little 10-minute think to work out what the best plan of action is. Because if this is really strongly glued on, the chances of this panel surviving being taken off without being twisted and bended is slim. Don't know what they are, but they're not very strong, so I'm not going to worry about them. So there's 2 bolts that are in here. They just need to be undone a little bit. But the problem I've got is I can't open the door anymore because I haven't got a wide enough garage. The top one, there's no way you'll be able to see in there, but I can't see the bolt. The bolt at the top doesn't seem to be there, but I can see the one at the bottom. So I'm going to have to work out how I'm going to get in there. It's really awkward to get in there. The final 2 bolts, which I didn't show you, which they're in this door jamb here, I thought I was going to have to take the door off, which is a tricky thing to do. They're massive doors, needs 2 people starters, plus there was no obvious plug where you unplug the electric. So craftily I undid the bolts on the bottom hinge, undid 1 bolt on the top hinge so I could actually tilt the door around a little bit, and then I could get the ratchet in and undo. I didn't show you that because I did last night. I suddenly had a brainwave and thought I'll come and have a little go, and it took me sort of 10-15 minutes. So I just did it while I was in the right frame of mind. And being in the right frame of mind, this is going to take a lot of patience, which is my weakness. So I need to take my time, as long as it takes, bit by bit, try and get this wing off so then we can get some access. I've loosened this wing off completely now in terms of remove the bolts, but it's also glued on everywhere. So, well, not here, all along the top, around the front. So I've got to try and ease this panel off somehow. So I'm going to try using a bit of heat to hopefully melt down the adhesive a little bit, and then generally just try and peel it away if I can. All of this front part here is part of the wing, so it's quite hard to identify what's part of the wing and what's not, but all of that's got to come out, and that's all properly stuck. So I'm going as gentle as I can, but it's got to come off one way or another. I don't want to have to change the wing, it seems pointless, but if it's too stuck and I have to bend it, I'm going to have to bend it. Right, so it's getting looser. All of this is loose. It's just that top. I'm trying to get this up. Trying to get this up is the challenging, because it's glued for so long. It doesn't have to be glued that well necessarily for it to not be able to lift. The other problem is I keep burning myself. Okay, hallelujah. So this wing's looking really good actually. Didn't bend it particularly, which is great. It's all in one piece, so I'm happy with that. There's a little bit of rust there, there's a little bit there, but nothing that means we can't use this wing again, which is great news, because that'll save a ton of money. It may need respraying at some point, but I'm happy I've got it off without any damage, so good news. Up here we've done pretty well also. All this glue can be removed quite easily, so we'll get that done. I've got one dent there, which is where I put the screwdriver in to get that final heave-ho, but that's fine. I can straighten that out. So yeah, really pleased. All in all, it's in really good condition under here. Hardly any rust at all. The only bits of rust is there's a little bit on this joint here, so that needs attention. There's a little bit on the inside here, but more surface rust. It's not eaten through, so maybe that's something we can clean up and protect rather than having to get the welder out and start welding stuff. But you know, the real reason why we've done all this is to get in here somewhere, to get to that rust spot under there. So I'm going to have to draw out an area and cut. I just want to make cut one piece out in one go, so I can weld it back in quite easy. I'm not an expert on this by any means. I've done a couple of little things on a Beetle, but that's it. But obviously watched a lot on YouTube, so I guess, yeah, try and get one piece out, so then when either I or the welder puts it back in, it's quite easy to weld back up. So maximum concentration for this one. That adds a level of complication, really, because that rust spot I need to get to is just the other side of here. So I don't really want to cut that out just there, because that's a fundamental part of how the bonnet stays on. So I think I'm going to have to try and go across here, around the top and down, something like that. So this line here is where we need to get to, because that's where the corner of that is where the problem is, on the inside. So now I need to decide where to cut. So I've drawn my line here. It's quite a big area, but I only want to do it cut once. And I'm thinking I need to get the welder in. Attempt to go a bit further on there. I think I will. So I'm just having a little look in here and trying to get rid of this sort of whatever it is that's been covered in, which has done seems to do. But look, I've just peeled off of that. There's quite a lot of rust in there. Right, that went pretty well. I've got this piece here, so that just fits straight on there. So I can't imagine it'll be too hard to weld that on and make it look nice again. I can see the hole in here. It's a lot of sticky, gluey stuff, so whether it's had something poured in there in the past to try and prevent the rust, which on the whole it's probably done a good job, but in that corner, that's the problem. And also obviously need to work out how I prevent this happening in future. So do I need to create some kind of drainage holes? So that's all to do really. But I'm pretty pleased with that. I think with my usual patience that I have, I've been very good today. And I've been very patient, so I'm happy. Right, I've taken this wing off now. A lot easier this time. I think just, you know, you learn as you go. And rather than sort of levering, I heated it all up. Then I just sort of peeled it off by pulling the wing out from the bottom, and it peeled off quite nicely. So now I knew what I was doing. It was a lot easier. A little bit more rust on the top here than that side. This will need dealing with. I haven't cut a hole in this side yet either, because I want to get that side done first, particularly if I'm going to do it myself. I'm in two minds at the moment. I prefer to do it myself or try, but I'm just need to really think about what I'm doing to make minimal cuts. I'm already going to have to cut a bit more out because you're not going to get a welder in there, but I need a smaller cutting device to get in there, so I've got to do a bit of research on that. But that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and please do like, subscribe, etc. See you next time.